Welcome back. I hope you had an enjoyable coffee break. We now turn to a practical conversation on how collaborative ecosystems help us move faster from research to industrial implementation across semiconductors and other industries. I'm delighted to introduce our moderator, Professor Hele Savin from Aalto University, and our panelists, Jarkko Pellikka, Director Industrial Collaboration at Nokia, Simo Säynävirta, Head of H2 Springboard and Green Electrification Mission Ecosystems at ABB, Jani Kivioja, Technical Director at Applied Materials, and Erja Turunen, Executive Vice President at VTT. And please note, you can submit questions also during this discussion, and we will try to have some time for questions from the audience at the end. But now, off to you, Hele.
Thank you, Ilkka, for nice introductions. So it's my great pleasure to be today the moderator for this panel, especially when we have so much expertise on the stage. So all of you have been part of different type of ecosystems or even coordinating it. So maybe we could start the discussion related to the motivation to join the ecosystem. So given your experience, what kind of advices you would like to give maybe to the participants in the audience who may not have yet been so actively involved in the ecosystem? So what things to consider when, what aspects to consider when you're thinking of joining or establishing an ecosystem? Who wants? Yes.
Well, happy to continue from there. Ecosystem collaboration for us is very strategic initiative. First of all, it's always start from the business strategy. So where we see what are the key objectives from the business point of view, what kind of internal capabilities we have. And based on this pretty comprehensive analysis, we start to define what are the areas where we actually need collaboration. And then that leads to the second point, which is that how we actually combine the expertise from multiple partners. And that's really require, heavy orchestration. So how to define the capabilities, resources, competencies, but especially how to combine those together that can then act as a basis for globally scalable solution. So again, it's very strategic decision. What are the capabilities that we need to jointly develop together with the partners, then move forward to define what are the capable partners to engage with, and also then go even deeper and really start to plan how to do that in practice. So ecosystem collaboration is not just kind of sloppy networking activities. It's very strategic approach initiative that requires, detailed planning and execution as well.
Simo, you want to continue?
Yeah, if I continue from what Jarkko was saying, I think exactly you need to kind of be strategic about it. And then the other thing, what is important to understand, that ecosystems are not just value chains. So it's not about kind of, if you have your subcontractors to you, and then you have your next in chain partners to kind of take your product or offering to the market, that's not yet an ecosystem. Ecosystem is actually something which is then creating synergies and creating value for all the parties that are involved in it. And then it's also much more dynamic than a typical, let's say, established value chain. So you have to kind of take it from that point that you are not, even though you are orchestrating, you are leading it, there are critical value provided by others. And then if I kind of look at what we do, ABB being kind of world-leading technology company when it comes to electrification and automation, those things alone, they are nothing yet. So you have to kind of build solutions that are then enabling kind of the outcomes that we need in the markets. And there, by definition, if you just concentrate on your own thing, that's not yet creating the value. So therefore, you kind of, with the strategic intent that you establish common mission that the ecosystem shares, then you establish kind of a mission-driven approach to create that outcome that you're after.
So could you give also like some concrete examples, like which kind of ecosystems you have decided to join and which kind of you haven't, like, or you have made it this a strategic decision, okay, maybe this is actually like great partners, great idea, but why not to? So,
Yeah.
oh, maybe Jani.
Sorry, you can continue if you want, but one quite concrete and clear example came in mind that Applied Materials here in Finland, we are focusing on equipment or equipment development. Here it's atomic layer deposition, but in our development we would also need chemistry. It's not our target, it's not our focus, but without that chemistry ecosystem here in Finland, ALD chemistry or whatever, we cannot do our part. But then on the other hand, our own tool development will definitely support also that chemistry development. So both parties will benefit, and there's this synergy, what Simo was mentioning.
Yeah, I think ecosystem all over, that's the place where the magic happens when sort of the ecosystem is collected right way together, so that we really can bring different type of industrial players and research players to work together. Definitely so. And I think the Veturi ecosystems, they are great examples for the successful sort of business ecosystems. And then from the research point of view, we of course see that there is also then a need for the collaboration with maybe little bit higher risk level also, and also sort of ecosystem between the ecosystems. So I think that's something we had good discussion also earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one example, especially within this context. I see a lot of our R&D collaborators here, so thanks for being there for us. Probably many of you actually remember when we started our first Veturi, that happened 2020, July. And one of the first initiatives was actually related to system-on-chip design activity. And based on the very heavy discussions with an active discussion interaction with the research institutes, universities, as well as the industry partners, we were able to define that this is exactly something that can help multiple industries to build the basis for the international growth. But that wasn't the end of story, because we also identified that in order to do so, we need to really develop also the core competencies in Finland. So that was triggering the start for System-on-Chip Hub activities. So together with the universities, VTT and many other companies, we were able to define the areas, even the curriculum, that help us to ramp up the volume of capable students that can then further act as key professionals to ramp up this System-on-Chip design domain in Finland. And luckily, today we can really celebrate that, because based on also the external recognition, we are certainly among the, let's say, top 5 countries in Europe, in EU, and probably also at the global level as well. So thanks to many of you and your contribution and our colleagues here. So direct impact to System-on-Chip design, but I think it's much wider impact that we have been able to realize with this type of systematic approach on the ecosystem collaboration, starting from the generic ramp up of core competencies towards some of the industrial use case when moving forward. So great start, but certainly we are not done yet.
And it's, I think what's interesting in Finland is that we have actually the full kind of a network. I was saying that not value chains, but actually we do have kind of wide-ranging capabilities. So if I take a concrete example, continue what Jarkko was talking about, we use system-of-chip designs in our power semiconductor-powered electrical conversion technologies. And then if you think about, we participated in that initiative. We are not kind of a core player to kind of build just system-of-chip technology as products, but then we are a key user where we then take that technology forward. And you could say the same, for instance, in the power semiconductors area. This is one of the strongest places in world. I've been saying that if you want to understand how we convert electricity and make a rotating thing rotate precisely the way we want to do, best place to actually do that would come to ABB site in Pitäjänmäki here, and you have really the world-class best expertise there. But then when you link that with all the rest that we have, for instance, in the chip ecosystems, it is quite unique. We range kind of very many directions and world-class competency.
Okay, so Veturi and what we have heard here today are really like a business-driven ecosystems, but there are also different type of ecosystems, also research-driven maybe sometimes. Erja, you also expert on this field, so what kind of things do you think about always also different aspects on like how much, like first of all, of course, the time scale is probably different, and then also how much your company would invest, like which kind of investments would be needed to participate in the ecosystem, and how much this decision plays a role?
Well, first of all, I always, when we go to the discussion that is it industry-driven, is it research-driven, I always say that why it's not innovation-driven. And then to that discussion, I think we need so many different tools, sort of how to cooperate in different time horizons. And there's also now a lot of discussion that how much risk we are taking, what is the ambition level in Finland, for example, in R&D. I think we need all. And sort of good mixture of everything. And the most important is that there is good collaboration between industry and research. And finally the agendas are industry-driven.
I pick on that I agree actually that we need to have targeted approach that we actually create innovations out of the activity. And what is the definition of innovation? It's actually not invention. The key difference being that innovation is actually something which is commercially viable, commercially scalable, resulting in a business impact. And now we've actually done in our H2 Springboard ecosystem and the leading company program, we've now reversed the whole thinking. We talk about RD&I. That's kind of how we think about it. It's okay, you first do research, out of that comes some new knowledge that may result in something that you can develop as a solution. And then from there, kind of magically, you have the product market fit arriving at innovation, which then is a scalable business. But what about if you turn it upside down, that you kind of identify what is now the breakthrough innovation that would actually create the big business impact. And then you look at that, okay, in order to go there, what do I need to accomplish as development? And then, okay, what is then the new knowledge? What is the new technology needed? So you start kind of looking at it backwards. And it's actually, it's so trivial that it's becoming very, very impactful, because then you can then kind of focus on your efforts. I've been using example of Elon Musk, and if you think about kind of, you can be of many opinions of the guy, but he wants to retire on Mars, so kind of be on happy retired life in Mars. And okay, well, how to get to Mars? First thing you have to be able to do is to lift up enough material on the Earth orbit that you can then go from there to establish a colony in Mars. And what is then the problem? Okay, it's very cost prohibitive to lift stuff on the Earth orbit. And why is that? Okay, actually rockets are not reusable, and the first stage of the rocket costs a fortune. So, okay, what is then the breakthrough needed? If only we had the first stage of the rocket reusable, then we could totally revolutionize this. And then, okay, then you focus on your efforts and then blow up 7 rockets or whatever happened, and then the 8th time you land the rocket back on Earth. So this is what I mean with the kind of being focused on this.
Yes, there's about this innovations and this development that of course I come from a semiconductor industry and these time horizons are long. But even if we are thinking innovations, it's either that we have something in the long time horizon which will give a significant return for that investment. It will take time. But of course, every now and then there's this kind of maybe with luck or maybe with some wisdom that you can pick up some shorter time horizon, high return innovations as well. But generally on this ecosystem research and whatever we are doing, these time horizons are, I don't know, close to 10 years when it comes to semiconductor industry. Maybe the same for...
I have a question to you. Kind of, how do you see now, for instance, the AI-driven material science technology? Do you see kind of an impact there? I mean, the traditional lengthy processes, can you speed it up with the technology development?
If that is for me, that on the materials development itself, it is already used, and maybe it will speed up something, let's say on actual chemistry. But it's still that this need for development is so significant that even if we are speeding that up, we are still, I would say, behind of this energy need, what was presented earlier today. I'm actually slightly worried that there's still a lot of things to do. But hopefully it will speed up, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think happy to continue because I was just raising the point related to how to accelerate actually innovation activities and also the commercialization within the ecosystem setting. So this has been one of the key areas that I've been personally focused on a couple of years already, because in many cases we are certainly fully rely on the competence and collaboration together with our ecosystem partners. But then the question is that how you plan and manage that in practice in order to be even capable to faster commercialize some of the assets that we jointly develop. So far, learnings from our side has been more or less related to the point that you need to have even more faster iterations, no matter what is actually the content, but you have to also be capable to develop and improve your way of working together with your partners. The scope of work, like Jani mentioned, is certainly relevant, taking into account the different time horizons that are related to the potential commercialization process. But in any case, I would say it's certainly worthwhile to focus on the practical ways how to try to accelerate the lead time. And that's really something where I personally believe in agile, safe type of approach. So following the logic of even faster iteration sprints or whatever term we want to use has been somewhat effective way to actually move a bit faster forward instead of just rely on the typical, let's say, duration of the project between 1 to 4 years. So that's sometimes too slow, I would say.
But of course, in these Veturi ecosystems, that I would say, at least I personally feel that this Veturi companies can also help on this final commercialization to enter this kind of global markets. That is our responsibility as well. So in addition to this kind of technology development, that will take time, but before making a significant business, that's another next step. And I guess that is our role on these ecosystems as well.
Okay, nice that you, Jani, raised this global perspective, because this is my next question about the international aspects of these ecosystems. So quite many Finnish ecosystems are quite national, maybe not all, and maybe you have good experiences of having international partners in your ecosystems. So could you elaborate on that, like what have been like some examples and how to make the ecosystems more international?
Yeah, but we've had actually a very conscious approach now with S2 Springboard to from the day one make it, even though it is a Business Finland-backed Veturi ecosystem, so we don't have the foreign partners, they don't get, of course, funding if they don't have activity here in Finland, but we have had an active approach, first of all, to take them in, and we are now very happy to see that there is actually traction that we are, because we are building so good activity here. It is actually interesting for the partners to join. The best example was that we had a brilliant Oxford spin-off out of UK. they had developed a hydrogen electrolyzer technology that was very novel in kind of in the approach that they have done. And then they had somehow learned about our ecosystem, and then they were visiting Slush here now in November, and then came to talk with one of our ecosystem partners. I think it was from one Finnish energy company there. And then they were asking this guy from the energy company that, okay, well, we have heard about this ecosystem, how can we join? And then we get this kind of this type of linkage. So when you get this positive development happening, it's not just the public funding that is actually attracting. That shouldn't ever be the primary motivation of doing anything. But it is actually the fact that we can get things done that is then attracting the partners. The other thing is that we are also very active in building European, for instance, Horizon Europe projects together with partners. And they are good vehicles to then bring also the expertise from other countries in.
Yeah, I think while being in the global business from here from Finland, we should always be able to pick up the best bits and pieces from the world. They companies, startups, research teams, whatever, but we never should sort of be happy just to work with the national consortia.
But how to attract them, or how to get them to, like you had a nice example, but it was also a bit coincidence, right? That if they came to Slush, but like is VTT like actively approaching?
Yeah, I think we have different routes. Of course, we are very, very active in EU projects. That's one way to learn new partners. And then our actually research and piloting facilities, they are quite well known already. So actually company even contact us and then they ask that, okay, can they be part of this ecosystem? And that which comes very important, that they are good sort of industrial sort of focus thematic areas where then they can feel that they can come in, and then also actually sometimes invest in happens. So again, we have a couple of examples that startups, they have wanted to change their R&D activities here to Finland to this sort of hub because there are so good sort of capabilities and good R&D programs ongoing. So I think that's very important.
I guess this global or European level or global collaboration is an absolute necessity. That we don't necessarily have all these aspects here, but if I'm thinking again the semiconductor industry, that I'm looking that we are here having Augmetic, most likely Murata, Vaisala, but if I'm thinking that us, Aalto, VTT, Augmetic, Murata and Vaisala, that we would develop something just here in Finland, and when it's ready, we would tell that now we have something, please come to buy that. It doesn't go on that way. That we need to have already on the development phase, seek markets, but also in the development itself. That's a must.
Then there are probably many academic partners also from universities or research institutes in the audience. So sometimes they want to also, they have a research idea and they want to establish a new ecosystem, new project, and then they need industrial partners. So what would be your advices for them? At what stage to contact you, or any other advices?
Yeah, 2 weeks before the deadline, I get the phone call. That, okay, here we need a partner in order to qualify for this call because there need to be industrial collaboration. That's not the way. What we would like to see is that we actually, and with best cases, we have established, for instance, with academic partners or research institutes, a continuous process. So we are very happy to discuss, for instance, the upcoming EU calls together with the academia or the research institutes. And in best cases, we have together kind of year ahead of the actual deadline, we've established that, okay, this call and that call are strategically for us very, very interesting. And we would like to kind of establish the best possible consortium for going for that application. Because from our point of view, actually, what is important is that it's always it's very strategic decision where to engage. Because if you put effort into something, and then even if you got the funding, but if the consortium doesn't get the thing done, it will tie up your best resources for the duration of the project. So you have to think about it from that point of view, that okay, you are selective in what you want to do, and then where you want to engage, you really put best efforts in. And then the best way to get kind of success there is to be very much upfront, planning it together.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have somewhat similar systems, so we try to be very systematic when it comes to R&D collaboration. That typically means that in practice, we have regular meetings with the universities, research institutes, where we actually scan the ongoing activities, as well as try to define exactly the future, what are the potential calls, areas, topics, themes that we want to focus on together. And so I would say as early as possible when you are thinking about when to contact Nokia. And I think that's somewhat similar for other colleagues here.
Yeah, precisely. So I can concur with this earlier comments. As early as possible, and please also remember that we are all these companies that we are doing research as well. So not all what we are doing is only kind of business driven. That we can together also create some scientifically interesting topics as well.
There's maybe one thing I'm thinking, especially when we are talking about, let's say, enabling technologies, like, for example, material development or something. If we could find out ways also to find out the similar needs between different veturies, because sometimes it might be that it lives in each vetury's sort of own ecosystem need, and by bringing those needs together, it might be that there would be a lot of actually sort of joint needs. That could be something maybe to think further how to do that.
Okay, now there's time for the questions from the audience, and I have received one, so please submit more if there is time. But this is actually considering what Sami already earlier a bit addressed, the acceleration of the innovations and then the time scale of the projects, which are often quite short. So how to manage this, that you have maybe only a short time of the project, but you would need to somehow accelerate to get an actual new product to be developed. So are there any like practical ways how to solve this?
So I don't believe that, depending on the context, but it's very rare that we would start a co-innovation project and by the end of the project we would have a business or a product. That is taking a longer time. But of course these tasks should be, or these bigger topics should be broken into smaller tasks and smaller steps, which can then be done by these different topics. I don't know if I answered, but
yeah, perhaps one way to kind of speed it up also is to form the projects in such a way. I'm now talking about kind of industrial scale heavy gear. So if we want to kind of construct, for instance, a hydrogen production facility, in the end that thing is a factory that requires $500 million of investment. And now question is that, okay, how do you get now the new solutions to be developed in such a way that the end result is bankable, so that somebody can actually deploy these technologies in the real industrial setting. And what we do now in these co-innovation projects, of course, you have a kind of different stages of development. Something is early stage, some is closer to the actual market adoption. But we try to kind of link them as close to the real context as possible. So we combine, for instance, piloting in real industrial setting with the development of the technology in this context. And when you do kind of, you don't have the sequential process anymore, but you can use these real life kind of living lab settings to speed up the commercialization. That's one way to kind of address that.
Yeah, in practice, if you think about the TRL level, so typically, at least from our side, we are starting from TRL level 2 up to, let's say, 5. So then the point is that can you actually accelerate that when starting from 2 up to 5? So that's what I would like to challenge myself and also for you guys, if you think about this, how to do that in practice within the consortium, within the ecosystem, because I think that's the name of the game. So you must be even faster than ever before to develop the core competence, the capability that you are developing together with your ecosystem partners. And that's not all, because from the commercialization point of view, you also have to think about what is beyond the TRL level 5. So that should be also somewhat, at least in our minds, to think about how to then move on with the commercialization, not just stop all the activities when we reach, let's say, TRL 5.
Maybe the whole idea of these ecosystems is to speed up these things. That's
Yes. Okay, that was a very nice end phrase to this panel discussion. So time is running up and we have a lunch approaching. So please feel, I think the panelists are staying here, so you can also ask the questions during the lunch. So thank you very much.
Thank you.